The Icons of Real Estate Podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing Icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomasz Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business. From $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters in Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO.
Hello and welcome back to the Icons of Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Timothy Katana, and today, ladies and gentlemen, you know we have a good show for you. Today's guest has been taking over the real estate industry in British Columbia by storm. And, today she's here to share what's worked for her. She's here to share her real estate journey. And I hope you guys are definitely going to take your notes because trust me, she knows her stuff. And if you're a new agent and you want to take tips from someone that's been in the industry, well, listen, this is the episode for you, right? She has a background in digital marketing. And that makes her a force to be reckoned with because when it comes to getting your home out there, trust me, no one else can do it better for you. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome today's guest, Kaitlyn Grafton. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Timothy. I'm excited to be here. I'm a little bit nervous to be here,
Don't
but
be
mostly
don't
excited to be here.
don't be nervous. Don't be nervous. Feel
No.
at home. Feel at home. Our audience doesn't bite. They love agents like you. And I want them to really get to know you a lot better. All right. So we're gonna start by sharing your real estate story. How did you first get into real estate, and what inspired that switch?
Short answer to that question would be my husband. So he's actually been investing in real estate. He was a realtor at one point in time as well. And so when he and I met, my background is I do have an education in digital marketing, but my background was actually really working in the service industry. So I managed and oversaw restaurants. I worked for a franchise in the city when I lived in Alberta, in Calgary. And then when I came back to the Kootenays, I was managing a little whiskey bar in Nelson, BC. So I fast forward, I met my husband, Ryan, and he was actually the one who really started encouraging me to get into it. He'd found success in it, and it was something that we were both really excited to kind of share a passion on. So I ordered the books, I started the course, and fast forward, here we are now.
And hey, so shout out to Ryan for getting her into the real estate
Yeah.
industry. He is the reason why so many people are out there smiling in their dream homes. Now, when he suggested that, were there any concerns or fears that you had? Did you feel like you had what it takes, or you're like, you know what? If he's telling me to get into this, you know what? I'm gonna go all in.
Oh yeah, I had no idea what it takes. It was a totally new industry to me. I had been running other people's businesses for a very long time. I'd spent a long time really coming in and fixing up these restaurants, rebuilding teams. So really at my core, team building was what I did. And so it was just, I was looking at it as an exciting new journey, a new chapter, something else for me to get into and master. And really the opportunity to make myself money instead of somebody else, right? Really take my experience and go into it on my own. And that's scary. All of us know that when you get into real estate, you don't have a guaranteed paycheck.
Oh yeah.
You don't know when the next one is coming, especially when you first start out. So it was scary for sure, but it was more exciting than anything.
Yeah. So what was your first year in real estate like, and how did your experience in the service industry help you find success in real estate?
My first year was slow, like I think a lot of people's are. I also I got married a couple of months after I got licensed. We were on our honeymoon. So my first year was a bit of a split between really having a lot going on in my personal life while also trying to build my business. So my first year in real estate, I lost $10,000, like I'm
Mhm.
sure of people do.
Yeah.
Um, but it really was, I mean, it was the kick that I needed to really get it started. And to circle back to your question, my experience in the service industry has done tons for my career.
Hmm.
Client satisfaction is the most important thing when you're
Yeah.
in business, regardless of what business that is. And so really that's what I've done for over a decade down to the core. And I was really able to just lean on that experience and just kind of pull it into a new industry. But the basics are really the same,
Mhm.
regardless of what industry you're in. So.
Yeah. You mentioned
Mhm.
that you lost thousands of dollars within the first year. And the reason why I'm touching on that is because when a lot of people get into real estate, they have this fantasy of getting into real estate and just getting rich right off the bat.
Mhm.
And when they get into it, they realize that yes, it's not your ordinary 9 to 5. This is, in fact, your business, right? Um, I want people to really get to understand, when you say you lost money, what is it that you were doing? How were you investing in yourself to get your name out there? And
Mhm.
when did you start seeing the results?
Yeah, I mean, what I was doing, I was advertising, right?
Mm,
So a lot of the money that you're putting into this is advertising yourself. You have to get your name out there.
mhm,
I'm from an area, it's a relatively small area. I was born and raised here. I have a lot of contacts and a lot of connections. I
mm,
also came into this industry in my late 20s, which is when a lot of my friends and family were starting to buy houses,
mhm,
right? So I had that kind of benefit as well. But at the beginning, that's who you rely on is your friends and your family until you can build a reputation for yourself and get your name out. So I spent a lot of money on advertising. I spent a lot of money um just like really setting my business up in a way that I wanted to show up, right? And so it's just like any startup business. There's an upfront investment. Like you don't get to just walk into this and think, okay, cool, let's do this. Let's make a ton of money. Like you
Let's
have
make
to put the
money.
work
Who
in.
wants to buy a house?
Yeah. And once you put the work in, and once you spend the money, I mean, as long as again that client satisfaction is top of mind, the payoff is, for me anyways, the payoff was pretty quick.
Mm,
My first year, like I said, I'd lost almost $10,000, but my second year was very profitable. And I
mhm.
really think it's because I spent that time laying the groundwork,
Yeah.
to move forward. Yeah.
And how did you overcome like some of the challenges that you faced? I know investing in something and not seeing a return right away can be quite discouraging. Did you ever
Oh,
get to a point where you were like, you know what, look, you go to your husband, you're like, you know what, you're good at this, but I don't think this is for me. I don't want to do this anymore. How did you get
um,
through the challenges? What happened?
I don't think there was ever a time where I actually said, I don't want to do this anymore. Like I
Mm,
was pretty committed, and dedicated to it. I, uh, I'm not the type to half-ass anything. I hope it's
mm.
okay for me to say
Oh,
that.
it's okay. It's okay.
Um, but yeah, but there were hard times, don't get me wrong. Like
Mm,
you're right. It's really hard to pour all of yourself into something,
mm,
both your time, your energy, your emotions, and your finances. Really hard to pour all of that into something and not see a return right away.
mm,
We're an instant gratification society, and so it can be a really tough pill to swallow when you don't get that. And I absolutely had days where I came home in tears.
mm. Oh, really?
Let's put that out there. Like it's
Mm,
tough. You
yeah.
really do have to grind, but you have to stick with it, and consistency is really important. And once you start selling those houses and getting those checks, and it does start paying off,
Mm.
it's really easy to just forget about how hard it was at the beginning and
Oh, yeah.
continue rolling forward.
Yeah. What was the first check like? How did that feel when you got your first check?
Feels awesome. Like it's fantastic, right? Like
Mm,
I can't even begin to say um just how gratifying it is to like actually finally make that first sale and say, okay, maybe I can do this. And then yeah, the others start coming, and at first it might be a little bit fewer and further between, but
mm,
I mean, before you know it, that's just not the case anymore. And
mm,
and again, it's easy to almost forget about how tough it was at the beginning. But for anybody out there who's thinking about getting into real estate,
Yeah.
have a savings account and buckle up because
Yeah.
it just doesn't happen right away, but it
Mm.
is worth it when you stick with it.
Well, that's golden advice right there, guys. I hope you guys are taking notes. Some of you are planning on just leaving your jobs without a savings and getting straight into real estate. You have
Mhm.
to have money saved up because you're gonna get through months where you don't see anything coming in, right? And you need
Yeah.
something to help you push through that. Now, when a lot of agents get into real estate, it opens up doors for them to start up more businesses and then just expand and you know have multiple sources of income. Like, what doors did real estate open up for you?
Well, I mean, this is kind of a good segue into what I would really love to talk about today because I'm not just a realtor. I
Mhm.
don't just sell real estate, but I'm a property manager and I manage investment properties for my clients as well. And so that was a really great transition for me and for my business. It just allowed me, it really opened up the types of clients that I was working with and allowed me to, I mean, they really play off of each other well,
Mhm.
right? Like I have buyer clients who are clients of mine just because I'm a property manager and
Yeah.
just because I understand tenancies. They're looking for an investment and they want somebody that they are confident actually knows what they're doing when it comes to investing.
Mm.
Um, so that was, I mean, that was a huge one, just
Mm.
getting into that second income stream through property management.
Yeah. And for those out there that don't know what property management is, we like to make sure we get everybody educated and they know exactly what we're talking about. What is property management and what kind of clients does it attract?
Yeah, so essentially what I'm doing is I'm taking investment properties that my clients have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on, and
Mm.
I'm ensuring long-term profitability of those properties. And I do that through a couple of ways. That's through finding qualified tenants and managing that tenancy.
Mm.
And that's also through ensuring the systems of the home are kept up, right? And that your value is being kept up. Um, BC's tenancy laws, for those of you that aren't familiar, are incredibly skewed towards the tenant. Landlords have and property owners have fewer rights once they engage in a tenancy. And so it's really important to have somebody with that deep knowledge of the legislation to make sure that you're set up for success from the beginning.
Yeah. And,
Mhm.
what are some of the challenges that you experience as a property manager? And, I think it's really good to touch on that because people should know that everything that we mentioned here is not like, hey, you just get started, just like real estate, you just get started, you're going to have a lot of money. There are challenges that people, come across, and we want to be able to educate them on how they can navigate through such challenges. So, as a
Yeah.
property management, what challenges do you face?
The biggest one is time. That's the one I currently face because, yes, it's added a completely separate income stream that plays really well. Like the two businesses obviously are very closely tied together, so they play really well off of one another. But I have two full-time jobs.
Mm.
Right? Like they really are separate. There are plenty of realtors out there who just do sales, and there are plenty of property managers who just do property management. And so time is a big one for me, for sure, just being able to juggle all of the things that need to be done. There's also the challenge of, I'll say, product knowledge, because there are a lot of realtors out there who, I mean, we fake it till we make it to some degree, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're not expected to be HVAC experts. We're not expected to be plumbing experts. We're expected to have the connections to find those answers. But in sales, typically what happens is you're going to buy a home, you have a home inspector come in, and the home inspector is the one who's really pointing out the flaws. That then triggers us as professionals to say, okay, these are the contractors that I know, that I trust, that we're going to call in to give us a deeper explanation of these things. With property management, I'm the inspector, right? I don't have a professional home inspector going in there every time I inspect a property to make sure that the components of the property are up to date and are where they should be. So you do definitely have to have a much deeper product knowledge and knowledge of houses and their systems in order to be successful at it, because I have to be the one who catches when something's not quite right.
Mm. Mm. Wow, wow. And I hope you
Mhm.
guys are taking notes on that, right? Now, for agents that are thinking about adding this service, what advice would you give them? You know, especially when it comes to educating themselves in this, what advice would you give
Yeah.
to agents considering adding this service?
Yeah, so again, I mean, I would just caution it's not an easy income stream. It's about 25% of my total GCI, but it's about 50% of my time.
Mm,
So like it really is skewed that way, but it plays off of sales so well that it's worth it. Again, like I have buyer clients that are strictly there because I'm a property manager, and I also when I have property management clients who no longer want to own these income properties or want to diversify, uh, guess who gets that listing? I do,
mm,
right? So
mm,
they play really well off of each other. My advice would definitely be to do research into it and make sure it's something that um, you're prepared for. Spend time with contractors, listen to home inspectors when you're there with your sales clients. Like you can pick up so much just from listening and asking the right questions when you're with your buyers at a home inspection or when you're with contractors doing follow-ups. You can learn a ton. Find I mean, I don't know how everybody's real estate association works, but in mine, like we have to do a certain amount of professional development every year in order to maintain our license. And one of those courses is product knowledge. There's courses on older homes, which dives deeper into types of plumbing and everything. So I definitely would say do your research, make sure it's for you, and then set yourself up for success by ensuring you do have that product knowledge. Um, and then think about how to scale it because, like I said, it's a great income stream, but it takes up a lot of my time. And so for me, I'm 4 or 5 weeks into working with an assistant.
mm,
And that's what I needed to do in order to continue growing and scaling because my time was maxed. I
oh
couldn't do
yeah.
it anymore. I physically did not have the hours in a day to stay on top of it. So hiring a part-time assistant, shout out to Julia,
Yeah.
has
Shout out
has
to
done
Julia.
amazing things for sure.
Mm. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, prior to Julia coming on board, like, how did you find the balance, between property management, being an active real estate agent,
Mhm.
and being a wife?
Yeah.
Like, I think you are lucky to have a partner that's also in real estate, so he kind of understands, your schedule. But how did
Yeah.
you guys find the balance in managing all of these things and also having time for yourselves?
Short answer is I didn't. I didn't do it the right way, right?
Yeah.
So like I'm sitting here kind of giving this advice after learning the hard way.
Mm,
I really did. And I will be honest, I still do struggle with that balance sometimes. Adding that assistant has helped tremendously. This last month, I've been able to breathe a lot easier. I'm working 10-hour days, not 16-hour days.
mm,
But it's difficult and it is really hard to juggle the home life part too.
mm,
Um, I like there are plenty of agents in my area who are top producers,
mm,
their wives, and their moms. And I'm not a mom. I don't have that other aspect of having kids at home.
mm.
I have no idea how they do it. Like, shout out to all the moms out there who are
Yeah.
crushing it in real estate because holy moly, I have no idea how they juggle it. Um, I've heard so many agents say, "Oh yeah, I got into this to set my own hours and be
Oh,
my own boss." And I laugh. Like all
yeah.
you can do is laugh. Like you're in a client-based business, my friends. We don't set our hours, our clients set our hours.
Yeah.
And in order to be successful, we have to go with the flow. We have to work in a way that works for our clients. So yeah, short answer, I didn't do it right. Long answer, I'm learning, right? I'm
Mm,
learning, I'm finding that balance. Julia's been a godsend. So yeah,
yeah.
you have to figure out what works for you.
Hey, Julia, if you're listening to this, shout out to you.
Yeah.
You are definitely doing a lot. And look, I think this is advice to everyone out there. That you adding different streams of income, you adding different things to your real estate business that take up a lot of time. Sometimes you don't have to do that all by yourself. Sometimes you need a
Mhm.
Julia in your life to help you out, right? And I think we just have that wide in our minds of, hey, I'll get the time, I'll be able to do everything. But you just one person at the end of the day. You don't want to neglect other aspects of your life. Now, I just want to find out from you, and what are some of the trends that you are currently noticing in BC, and how are they influencing, your industry as a property manager?
So we have an election going on right now in
Mhm.
BC, and obviously we know government is huge when it comes to real estate. They're the ones who set the rules that we play by and the legislation, especially when it comes to tenancies. Um, our election's tomorrow,
Oh,
so
wow.
we'll see what happens. We've had a socialist government in BC for decades. Don't quote me on exactly how many years because I don't have that. Um, but there's been a strong shift in another direction, and so it'll be interesting to see exactly how that does play out, because that's definitely going to impact our industry massively. Housing affordability is a huge issue. We just simply don't have enough housing for the amount of people that are here. Um, so yeah, I'm curious to see how this election is going to play out because that my answer today is very different than what my answer would have been next week,
Oh yeah,
right? Just
yeah.
depending on these results.
Yeah, we'll
Um,
actually come back to this. We'll continue this
yeah,
conversation. Like, hey, so
yeah,
yeah, now
we
that we're
should.
here, so what do you
Circle
see?
back and say, how did this play out? What happened?
Well, yeah.
A trend that I'm feeling right now, landlords are. I'm having clients that are selling their properties. I have a portfolio of about 50 units that I manage. It fluctuates a little bit here and there. I mean, in August, I had two of those clients list and sell their rentals because, um, again, like I mentioned earlier, landlords just don't have a lot of rights to their property once they get involved in tenancies. And so we are seeing more and more landlords selling their properties and not wanting to do it anymore,
Mm,
which is a shame because I think it's a really great way to build wealth,
mm,
is through holding those investments. But that is sort of a trend that we're seeing right now. Um, pricing, I mean, it always fluctuates. It's always going to fluctuate. We're because I'm in a smaller center, we're a little bit more insulated than kind of the bigger city centers are. Like if you look at Vancouver, BC versus where I am in the West Kootenays, our
mm.
markets are completely different. They fluctuate completely differently. So we do hold a little bit steadier. We tend to hold steadier here than the bigger centers do. We don't see as high of highs and as low of lows, but we're definitely in a buyer's market right now.
Yeah,
Feeling
yeah,
that for sure. Yeah, there's more inventory out there. People are taking their time.
yeah.
Hmm.
So I hope you guys are taking notes, man. I love what you said that, um, holding on to these properties, as a landlord, this is a really good source of income, and not just for you, but for the next generation. So, sometimes it is good to sit down and talk to an agent like Caitlin and say, hey, this is where I'm at right now. I'm considering selling my property. You look at the options before you get into it because you might find yourself in a few years trying to buy property like that again. And who knows what changes will arise at that time. Now, I just want to take this opportunity to give a special shout out to the sponsors of today's episode. And many of you know this, and some of you do not know this, but the Icons of Real Estate Podcast Network is here to make podcasting accessible to you guys. Now, my question is always, if you were to start your own podcast, your own real estate podcast, what would you call it? Right? Comment down below, let me know, and I'll be sure to read. Who knows, I might just give you a call. Now, today we're going to ask our guest, Caitlin, if you were to start your own podcast, what would you call
You know, you gave me a heads up this one was coming, Timothy.
it?
Um, I think I would, if I were to start my own real estate podcast, I'd probably call it Selling the Kootenays.
Oh,
Um, that's the location that I'm in, right? My geographical location.
yeah.
Um, and it's a unique place. We've got lots of we have a lot of older homes. Like it's not
Mm,
uncommon in my area to have houses that are 100, 120 years old.
yeah.
So I think that makes us stand out from kind of some of the bigger city centers that seem to demolish and rebuild, right? They build up,
Yeah.
whereas we keep those single family homes and maintain them. So I think that we would have some pretty cool conversations about maybe some older homes and the things we deal with on that front.
I love the name. I don't think I've heard of that So that would be a really, really nice name. And I think a lot of cool conversations would definitely go down there. Now,
Mhm.
I always say this to people that are going to comment down below and say, hey, Tim, I finally got a name for my podcast. It's going to be Sunny in the Kootenays. And meanwhile, you in Chicago, don't even do that, please.
Yeah. Yeah, this
It's
one's
taken.
unique to me.
It's
Yeah.
unique. It's taken, so come up with your own, right?
Yeah,
Now,
exactly.
going back to this, to our conversation, you are a woman that's definitely doing a lot in the industry. And with having a background in the service industry and a bit of knowledge in digital marketing, you know, especially when it comes to digital marketing, how has that played a role in your real estate business today?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, you have to understand how to market yourself.
Mhm.
Um, and this really is something that is a focus of mine moving forward, as well as something I've leaned on in the past because things change quick. Um, I mean, even when I started, it was Facebook and Instagram, and now there's TikTok and there's Threads and there's all of these other social media platforms you can be using that
Mhm.
are still a little over my head. I haven't caught up. So yeah, I mean, that's another really great part for me, anyways, for having hired an assistant and getting some of that administrative stuff off my plate is I do have more time moving forward to really tap into that background, and just really use it moving forward and solidify it moving forward. But I mean, how you market yourself is everything. You can't build a client base if nobody knows you're out there,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it really is step one. And I would encourage everyone to at least do understand the basics, go through some program. There's plenty that are out there to just help you understand the basics and how to market yourself and how to use the tools that are available to us.
Yeah. So you heard that, guys. Don't just get into real estate and think you're gonna have people calling you up and being like, "Hey, I heard you're a real estate agent. Can you help me out?" No, you have to get yourself out there. All right.
Yeah.
Make sure people notice you. And who knows, you might find yourself here on the Icons of Real Estate podcast. Now, Kaitlyn, for those that do want to work with you, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Pick up the phone, send me an email.
Mhm.
My phone, like every agent out there, is attached to my hip. So uh, text,
Do you have
call,
that carrier
email.
on your
Yeah.
You know those I remember I saw this I mean growing up I probably saw it in the early 2000s. My dad had that I don't know what you call that carrier where he would just put his phone on his hip. Is
Right.
that
Yes, the dash. Yeah, that's probably where the saying came from. Mine is not literally attached to my hip, but it is always, it's always in my hand, my pocket, or
Yeah.
right next to me.
Okay.
Yeah, or you can find me on social media, on Facebook or Instagram. It's KaitlynGrafton.realestate, so you can find me there as well.
Okay. So you heard that,
Mhm.
guys. If you're looking to buy or sell your home, or you're looking for a property manager that knows her stuff and has the best service in town, trust me, Kaitlyn is the one to give a call. Her details are in the description, guys. So all you have to do is just hit her up on Instagram, Facebook, or give her a call. You heard what she said. Her phone is always on her hip. So she's always ready to pick up and help you out. So, Kaitlyn, before we go, what is your advice to everyone out there considering getting into the real estate industry, especially in BC? What is your advice for them to be successful and, to really find their place in the industry? I think a lot of people get into it and they feel out of place. They feel like, hey, this is not for me. But you've definitely been able to shine and get through all the hardships that come with being a real estate agent. What is your advice to our audience out there considering to follow in your footsteps?
The most important thing is to be prepared to put the work in.
Mhm.
Like this is not just an easy thing to jump into. I don't know what the stats are, but there's a very high failure rate in this
Mhm.
industry. But those who really, really put the work in and apply themselves are successful. And I would say find your niche, right? What's your thing? What type of properties do you enjoy? What does your initial client base look for? And just really build yourself a niche, in the same way that I have done for myself with property management, right? It just sets you apart, in your own little corner of the industry, I should
Yeah.
say.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Thank you so much. Kaitlyn, you have been an amazing guest on the show. We hope to have you again on the show, and maybe we'll circle back and find out, hey, elections are done. What do you
Yeah.
think the real estate industry is going to look like in the next couple of months or years? We look forward to having you back on the show, but we really do want to appreciate you for taking the time to be with us today. You mentioned that time is something that, you really don't have on your hands, but we appreciate the fact that you took the time to be with us and educate our audience and showcase your expertise. I mean, now someone out there knows that, hey, there's an agent, there's a real estate agent in town, there's a property manager in town, and that's Kaitlyn Grafton. So thank you so much for being such an amazing agent, being an inspiration to women out there that also want to get into the industry as well. So from the Icons team and myself, thank you so much and keep shining.
Thank you so much for having me, Timothy. It's been an honor. It's been awesome to sit and talk with you this morning. So thank you.
All right, you're welcome. You're welcome. Now, everybody out there, if you got this far, you know what you need to do. Click the like button, man. Comment down below and click the like button. If you listen to this on any other platform, share this with your friend, share this with your social circle because they will love you forever. And don't forget to give Kaitlyn a call or just give her a shout out. Even if you don't want to do business with her, just be like, hey, I saw you on the Icons of Real Estate podcast. I love what you're doing. Keep doing that. Thank you. It goes a long way. All right. So show some love. All right. Show some love. From your host, Timothy Katana, with the amazing Kaitlyn Grafton. Till we meet again. Take care and peace.
Thank you.